Since the dawn of time, mankind has been questioning the true nature of reality. Making sense of a complex world is difficult, and most people just blindly accept the version of events presented to us by our parents, teachers, and politicians. But others like to ask questions and uncover the truth. Those dark secrets that lie behind every coincidence and cover-up. In this video, I'll show you 5 of the most intriguing and plausible conspiracy theories out there right now that'll have you questioning everything you took for granted. Human microchip implants. If you think putting a tracking chip under your skin only happens in creepy sci-fi scenarios, you're in for a rude awakening. Congratulations, you now live in a futuristic dystopia where not only is this technology possible, it's already in place. Oh yeah, and it's becoming more and more popular. Since 1998, people have been experimenting with implantable tech. Through a quick and easy procedure, a microchip the size of a grain of rice is inserted into the subdermal layer of the human body. The most popular spot is in the hands, but chips can also be injected into arms, shoulders, or legs. So why in the name of Dr. Frankenstein would anyone in their right mind want to make themselves part cyborg? Well, the ability to track the movements and patterns of the public is an invaluable tool for social control. As well as your location, advanced RFID chips can contain information about who you associate with, your routine, and your most private moments. It could even be used to frame you for a crime or label you an enemy of the state. It would mean the end of freedom, privacy, and anonymity. But who would want to turn the world into a giant prison where your every movement is logged in a giant database? The answer is the New World Order, or Illuminati. The shadowy cabal of bankers, politicians, and celebrities who secretly control the world through a totalitarian one-world government. Evidence for the existence of this group can be seen in hidden messages, from the all-seeing eye symbol of the Illuminati on the dollar note to cryptic clues in movies and music. But this is just a conspiracy, right? Well, RFID chips are already used to track pets and meat exports, and one company in Sweden is encouraging its staff to have the chips implanted at work. With the technology already existing, surely it won't be long before the New World Order begins to forcibly implant us through their proxies at the CIA and FBI. Not only that, in many ways, we're already inextricably linked to the chips in our credit cards every day. Though not implanted in our bodies, whenever you make a purchase, you're revealing your habits and locations. Contactless payments make it an effortless process, and now that many public transport networks allow you to pay with contactless, it's easier than ever for the powers at the top to know where you currently are or where you'll likely be at any point in the future. It might sound like fiction, but the evidence is all there. So I'm giving this theory a plausibility rating of 7 out of 10. Exploitation, brainwashing, and the news. Do you watch the news? Maybe you're pretty well informed and keep yourself up to date on the latest gossip in Washington, D.C. and beyond. What you may not be aware of is that the media isn't in the business of informing the general population. Instead, they have a vested interest in mind control, mass manipulation, and deception. It might sound ridiculous, but you'll realize it's true. Let me explain. Propaganda is the deliberate spreading of knowingly false information to further hidden political agendas. For over 100 years, governments and the mainstream media have been using propaganda as a tool to manipulate public opinion and trick whole populations. The idea is that if you deliver a message over and over again, the audience will start to believe it's true. And this method of mass brainwashing has been proven over many years of experimentation to be extremely effective. One of the biggest problems is the media itself. Broadcast journalism used to be about truth and community. Now the media increasingly uses its platforms to spread its own political biases and shape the popular narrative to protect itself from the truth. There are extremely powerful groups controlling what news you see, and maybe more importantly, what news you don't see. Of all the major media broadcasting organizations, there's one that's been silently pulling the puppet strings for decades. It owns 173 TV stations, making it the largest media group in America. While the Sinclair Group is not exactly a household name, it's in total control of the information being beamed into millions of US households. And it even provides pre-written scripts and topics for its anchors to read out. Just check this out.
Sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish things that aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
In the past, there used to be hundreds of companies controlling TV, newspaper, and radio, but now there are less than 10. These information superpowers are silencing journalists who investigate anything that they deem threatening to their interests. There are many journalists who claim that after exposing a corrupt politician or hidden scandal, they are threatened, bribed, fired, or all of the above. No matter which side of the political divide you're on, we can all agree that much of the news we're bombarded with on a daily basis is an attempt to control, not inform. Of course, some news outlets do still report issues with genuine integrity, but should the media in the land of the free really look like this? With traditional media being challenged by the rise of the internet and people waking up to what's really happening, it's no wonder they're resorting to more and more desperate measures to keep hold of their version of events. And for that reason, I'm giving this theory a likelihood of 8 out of 10. JFK's assassination. Probably the most well-known conspiracy theory concerns the assassination of the 35th President of the United States, John F. Kennedy, JFK. The president was shot and killed in broad daylight on a day that scarred the American psyche. A 10-month investigation by the Warren Commission concluded the murder was a simple case of a mentally disturbed guy with a gun. So why do people think the mafia was involved? Or the US government itself? Since current President Donald Trump released previously classified documents relating to the JFK assassination, the debate has burst back into the public eye. Here's a quick rundown of what happened. The president was in the backseat of an open-top convertible cruising slowly through Dallas. He was calmly waving to crowds of people along his route. Suddenly, gunshots rang out and JFK was struck in the head by a bullet from a high-powered rifle and was killed instantly. It was quickly discovered that the assassin was a former Marine named Lee Harvey Oswald. With the primary suspect in custody and evidence mounting against him, it seemed like a shocking but straightforward case. But by analyzing the details, things get a little shady. It's well known that Oswald shot 3 bullets at JFK from a 6th-floor window. The first one missed, and the third one hit Kennedy in the head, killing him instantly. It's this second bullet that's been the subject of intense debate. According to the Warren Commission's official report, this second bullet hit Kennedy in the neck, exited downward, hitting Governor Connally on the right side of his back, exiting below his right nipple, then entering and exiting his wrist, and then wedging into his thigh. This bullet was later found by doctors at the hospital on Connally's stretcher. What's particularly controversial is the fact that even after producing 7 entry-exit wounds, the bullet looked like it hadn't been fired at all. Its copper jacket was completely intact. While the bullet did match the fragment found in Connally's wrist, it's difficult to believe it also went through Kennedy as well, without getting even partially dented. But by analyzing the only video footage of the event, known as the Zapruder film, it's obvious there wasn't enough time to fire the 2 shots in that time span. That's why a second shooter was possibly involved. In fact, Connally himself went on to admit that there is my absolute knowledge that 1 bullet caused the president's first wound, and that an entirely separate shot struck me. Not only that, a spectator near the car at the events, James T. Tague, was hit in the cheek while standing on the sidewalk. Near him on the sidewalk was a mark the Warren Commission admitted could have originated from the lead core of a bullet. Turned out the CIA purposefully withheld information from the Warren Commission, so later in 1976, the House Select Committee on Assassinations was created to investigate the assassinations of JFK and Martin Luther King Jr. They were able to apply new analysis techniques to the audio, concluding that 6 points contained patterns similar to that of gunfire. In the end, their findings concluded that the committee believes, on the basis of the evidence available to it, that President John F. Kennedy was probably assassinated as a result of a conspiracy. The committee is unable to identify the other gunman or the extent of the conspiracy. This was a government statement. It doesn't get more official than that. So, who would want to kill Kennedy and why? There are countless theories, but if the CIA purposely withheld information, they were likely involved. Many claim they plotted to disband him as he had a different agenda and he refused to offer additional support to their military campaigns. Kennedy and his father also had links to various mobs that claimed responsibility for the killings, so numerous sources exist as possibilities. With the government themselves admitting this one, I'm giving this theory a plausibility rating of 9 out of 10. Giant laser beams. Something strange has been happening recently. Maybe you've noticed it. There's been a literal explosion in the amount and size of wildfires. Hundreds of thousands of acres burnt. torching trees, wildlife habitats, homes, cars, and bridges. Sure, wildfires are nothing new, but the scope and intensity of these blazes are like nothing anyone has seen before. The mainstream media will claim it's an effect of climate change, but there are many who believe these fires are not wild at all. Instead, they're engineered. Direct energy weapons, or DEWs for short, are essentially powerful laser beams that can be fired from airplanes or even from space. While the official stance is that no such technology exists, there are many who believe that secret organizations are already using them for their own destructive agendas. In August of 2018, the Car Fire was one of the most explosive fires in history. It burned almost 230,000 acres and destroyed over 1,000 homes. It was the 7th largest wildfire in California's history, doing an estimated $1.6 billion in damage. It was reported that the blaze started when a car kicked up sparks into some dry brush. However, there are many things about this fire that point to something unnatural as its source. Photographs on social media showed cars completely melted out, engines and all, sitting right next to unscathed bushes and grass. But how could a natural fire melt metal but not burn the trees next to it? There were trees that seemed to burn unnaturally from within, lit up like glow sticks. Houses seemingly vaporized with no trace left, surrounded by untouched forest. Were they targeted deliberately? Many people reported seeing strange silent flashes in the sky, and that the fire seemed to explode out of nowhere. The Car Fire in August was only a preview. In November 2018, another bizarre and massive fire engulfed California with even deadlier results. The Camp Fire. The Camp Fire killed 81 people. That's more than the next 3 deadliest wildfires combined. This unprecedented fire destroyed over 18,000 structures, including the entire town of Paradise, California. Again, many reported the fire spreading extremely quickly with no apparent cause. Some have suggested that the California wildfires could be President Trump's secret way of punishing the Hollywood elite for their criticism of his administration. But is some secret government organization using advanced laser technology to target and kill specific people? Or is it simply that climate change is already starting to kick in? You be the judge. For me, I'm giving this idea a plausibility rating of 4. Flight MH370. On the 8th of March 2014, Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 took off from Kuala Lumpur Airport and headed north on a routine flight to China. 40 minutes after takeoff, it made contact with air traffic control and then vanished off the face of the earth. But how does a 350-ton Boeing 777 with 238 people on board simply disappear? There are many theories, not least because 3 separate searches led by Australia, Malaysia, and China all failed to find the plane, and the Malaysian government's response to the crisis was wrecked with so many problems and contradictory strategies. Everyone is a potential suspect here. The Chinese government, the US aerospace company Boeing with their links to the CIA, even North Korea and the Russians have been implicated. One of the search ships even disappeared for 3 days in the remote southern oceans, with no explanation of where it was or what it was doing in that time. But the real truth could be far more disturbing and comes from an unlikely source. On the 4th anniversary of the plane's disappearance, a Twitter user named Ty received a bizarre voicemail message on his phone, an eerie string of letters coded in the phonetic alphabet used by the military.
Sierra, Delta, Alpha, November, Golf, Echo, Romeo, Sierra, Oscar, Sierra.
When spelled out, the haunting message warned, "Danger, SOS. It is dire for you to evacuate. Be cautioned, they are not human." It also included a string of numbers that matched the coordinates of a location near to where flight MH370 vanished from the radar. The story became more sinister when Ty began to receive weird messages in Indonesian, warning him to delete the post he made about the recording. And he reported other strange events, like a stranger taking pictures of his house at 3 a.m. with the flash on. And the messages kept coming, like this one, which translates to, "Evacuate please, send help, there are prisoners, this is the collapse of nations." And then more strings of numbers and code that are translated to yet more terrifying messages that seem to foretell a catastrophic global event. But what could they mean? It seemed that what Ty had been sent was a black box recording from inside the cockpit of flight MH370, and that the aircraft had been hijacked by what was possibly an alien being. This claim could be supported by the recording of MH370's final conversation with aircraft control, in which the pilot stumbles over his words, as if startled by something, and a strange noise can be heard in the background.
Malaysian 370. Malaysian 370. Malaysian 370.
Was that the sound of an alien hijacking? And were the messages warning us? Or could this entire thing be an elaborate hoax to gain Twitter followers? Well, that last theory falls flat as Ty deleted his Twitter account as a result of all the bizarre and threatening messages he was receiving. In a video interview, Ty stands by his claims that the voicemail was real, and so was the suspicious photographer who was harassing him. So where did this come from? And what does it point to? Some say these messages could have been sent as a distraction. But if so, for what? Personally, I'm giving this idea a plausibility rating of 5 out of 10. So which of these conspiracy theories do you find most convincing? Or are you happy to just believe what you read in the news? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching.